You're welcome back to AfiaTV News tonight in our conversation segment, speaking about House of Representatives investigating cash scarcity. The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the current scarcity of currency notes in commercial banks to address the hardship being experienced by Nigerians. And this comes as the House of Representatives expressed shock over paltry budgetary appropriation. The resolution of the House to investigate the current naira scarcity, the cash crunch in the country is currently hurting economic activities as entrepreneurs are subjected to long queues and sometimes spend a whole day or two in the bank with loss of main hours only to get 10,000 naira, and in most cases go back home with nothing, subjecting these class of persons who have no access to point of sale POS that is mostly not applicable in some articles of trade, especially in the rural areas, to hopelessness. Now, this has caused untold hardship, especially in the uninformed populace, most of whom are rural dwellers, of course, who have representatives everywhere. Hence, the cry to protect their interests, as lives could even be lost for lack of funds and cash to take their sick ones to hospital and sometimes nothing to buy food with. While the commercial banks have no money to dispense, the POS operators have in their disposals up to 1 million naira in mint to sell to their cronies and the public. And the pertinent question is, where do they get the money from? Well, joining me now to discuss further is our guest, Priscilla Amadi. She's a service culture evangelist and a social commentator. Good evening, Priscilla, and welcome to Enugu.
Good evening.
It's good to have you in town. Yeah. All right. So let's get your perspective on the current cash crunch. Almost feels like what we experienced the last time before the elections. And of course, the APC made a lot of noise about it, saying it was political. And now we're here again, of course. And a lot of people are asking, where did our money go? Because when you go into the banking hall now, sometimes they even have to give you 5,000 naira. So we can't even see those governors who were suing the central bank, up and down. It was El Rufai who sued, the Lagos governor sued also, and a lot of them did that because they felt their principal was being targeted for political reasons. But now this is almost Christmas and Nigerians are sort of stuck. So, but POS people will always have money, and we're wondering where they get the money from. Do you have any idea?
That's a good question. Amazing. You can't keep telling the people that their economic growth, that this is improving and that is improving, but the cost of living is crazy. You can't keep telling us that. So if you go out there and you come and reel out some statistics that where we know the chop, you come and tell us statistics where we know the chop, that is now the reason that the Nigerian economy is growing. But now let's break it down to the basics, right? Let's break it down to the basics. The basics is the fact that you take 5,000 naira to the market today, and you can't get what you were able to buy at the beginning of the month at the same quantity, at the same price. So you now tell me, oh, inflation is double digits, inflation is 1 digit, inflation is 15 digits. That is not the cry of the typical Nigerian on the street. The typical Nigerian on the street is not interested in whether the inflation is double digits, half digit, or 3 digits. All he knows is when he gets to the market, what is he able to purchase, right? Vis-a-vis his income. So now you tell the typical Nigerian, oh, the economy is doing better today. Has that affected the price of garri in the market? It hasn't. So yes, my dear, amazing. You see, it's worse. And let's not even go far. Right now, we are towards the end of the year. You just spoke about it. And I sent some money to my aunt to get stuff for my grandma. And guess what? She went to the market and she called me weeping in the market that she couldn't get anything with that amount. So now tell me, how is the quality of life for a while is been nosediving? And if you look at the trajectory from the beginning of this democratic era, which kind of began in 1999, So now, I can tell you for free that the APC-led government right now, and this is not about politics, it is facts. The APC-led government has been terrible for Nigerians. It has been worse. The stats are there. The figures are looking at everybody. The last administration led us into what do we call that? Into recession twice within 8 years. So, my dear sister, it is terrible right now for the number of Nigerians. Then there's cash crunch right now because guess what? Minimum wage is no longer a livable wage. People are barely able to survive by minimum wage. And then when you see the minimum wage of Nigeria right now cannot buy a bag of rice, that's a problem. The cost of rice or basic cost of living is overwhelming minimum wage. Everything is shooting over the roof. The cost of rent, the cost of foodstuffs in the market, the cost of education, the cost of transportation. Every single basic indicator of living in Nigeria right now is off the roof. But yes, they'll bring us some statistics that tell us it's going to get better tomorrow. Meanwhile, one thing that is not coming down so far is the cost of governance. That seems to be matching our level of inflation. Don't you think?
All right. So when we talk about this cash situation, I know for the longest of time, we've been trying to get ourselves acquainted with the cashless society, but it doesn't seem like it might work anytime soon because the banks are rarely even found in the rural areas. And how do you begin to educate the women who live in the villages, the men also, that how to use, of course, a bank app? So this makes it totally difficult for us to completely transit to a cashless society. But here we are, fighting how to get cash, because sometimes it's something that you just can't do without. No matter how hard you want to transact seamlessly with, your connectivity, sometimes the network might just go bad, or sometimes you get debited and the person doesn't get credited. So, but the ultimate thing here is we have not got it right when it comes to our cashless system here in Nigeria. And it does seem like there's an existential corruption in the banking sector that, gives room for the POS operators to thrive, and then we keep buying Naira with Naira and nobody's talking about it. Sadly, the situation has been here since October, I guess. And I'm just surprised that this is when the House of Reps is saying, well, we have to investigate it. Everyone's asking, who gives the POS operators the cash that they hold?
Good question. Amazing. Because the POS operators do not own cash. They do not print cash. Right? Mm-hmm. And also, there's a system that enables them to be able to operate as well. Let's call a spade here. There is an intentional corruption, in our banking system that enables this very heartbreaking situation when Nigerians living in Nigeria are having to buy cash. How did we get here? I had a personal experience when I traveled to Port Harcourt on a client site, right? Amazing. And that was when I realized how bad it is. So I walked into my bank at the time, GTB, to be very precise, at YKC specifically, to withdraw money because I had fixed my phone. I walked into my bank. And my bank told me that I couldn't withdraw more than 5,000 naira? Yes, she said 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira in the bank. But if I go outside the bank, at the ATM, in the same banking premises, just outside, but I'd be able to withdraw 20,000 naira. Amazing. Now make it make sense. I walk into before they used to get away with a lot of experience. Say, oh, you didn't go to your bank. Oh, you didn't go to the ATM. But explain to me why I'm in my bank at the banking hall and a bank teller is telling me I couldn't withdraw and then directed me to the manager who repeated what she said. And when I insisted, they only ended up in giving me only 30,000 naira and told me to go outside and use the bank. And that's because the way they saw me speak, they realized that they wanted to be of help or something. They made it feel like they were giving me money out of favor. That is my personal experience, right? But explain to me why the POS, just outside that same banking hall, just outside the gate, I can withdraw 1 million naira if I wanted. Who is giving the POS operators money enough for them to be able to sell money to us? Because for every 5,000 naira you withdraw, you pay 100 naira or 200 naira, depending on the location you are in. Some locations go as high as 300 naira for 5,000 naira. Why am I living in Nigeria, born, bred, living in Nigeria with a Nigerian banking system, and I do not have access to my own cash? I have to buy it. That's one. Second of all, this whole stories about us not being able to operate cashless policy is hogwash. It is really, really hogwash. And I think that when the banking sector is really ready to tell us the truth, they will tell us the truth. It is hogwash. It is bull. Let me not use that word because we're on air. But then it is just a whole lot of story, because guess what? Hardworking Nigerians have decided to give cashless policy the chance. So explain to me why transfers are there. You have transfers, you have banking apps, you have USSD, you have ATMs. All these options are available, but guess what? You cannot use it and transact cashless policy without cashless transactions without being charged. Some merchants are able to use it, like supermarkets. They let you pay with your ATM. Why are all vendors not being made to use it as it used to be? I recall some years back, most vendors and merchants were made to get these POS transactions. Now, these people will have POS in their shops and refuse to use it. But when you walk outside their shop, you buy cash, come back to them, give them the cash, they sell it back to the POS people. You see, I do not subscribe to this whole blame games where you have situations of where you have we have malaria in Nigeria right now, so the solution is to buy mosquito net. No, that's superficial. Everybody knows what the problem is. It is the political, social, and intentional will to fix it that is the problem. Almost every single person that can fix this situation is either gaining from it or looking away in order to get some form of, I don't know, maybe some form of maybe political or social or something, gain from it. Because explain to me why leaders cannot look at very basic solutions without being a challenge to citizens. At this juncture, I'm beginning to think that Nigerian political leaders or leaders of any form of color across various strata hate Nigerians, because you make transfers through these banks. Now, here's the worst part, amazing. If you transfer to the POS, you get debited by the bank. So you pay to the POS person to collect money, and the bank still debits you. So for only 5,000 naira, you can pay up to 100. You can pay up to 120 something, 150 something naira to 300 and something naira. For just 5,000 naira that doesn't even last for a day. So why everything after the lives of Nigerians? We are suffering from basic infrastructure. We are suffering from banking infrastructure. We are suffering from political infrastructure. When does this end? When are they going to give us a break, really? Because everybody is tired of it.
Right. All right. So let's talk a bit about the summit that brought you here in town. And of course, AfiaTV has been also covering that summit, which is the Southeast Investment Summit. But going straight to the point, what challenges do you think that investors have, coming to the Southeast briefly, because we're on our way out?
Oh, yes. The Southeast. First off, I think that there's a lot of negative media against the Southeast. It just seems like everywhere you look around, there's this whole, it just seems like everyone is just dropping dead in Southeast. And I'm in Enugu, in my amazing hotel, by the way, and I'm looking out my window and they're all friendly, the food is nice. So I don't know where this whole feeling like I'm not saying that there are no insecurity, but it's not as terrible as it ought to be. That's one. And then for investors, trust. trust in infrastructure of the region. I think that if the eastern part of Nigeria can work on infrastructure, like maybe better roads, maybe something as great as network, because I know that in some regions or some locations outside the main cities, the network is not so great. And I even had a feedback today from a client of mine who's been trying to call me literally all day, but couldn't get me since yesterday. Since this morning, I landed into town. He said he couldn't reach me. So I think that if these basic infrastructures are worked on, it could go a long way in improving investors' trust in growth of the Southeast. Because again, to a very large extent, if you're investing in the Southeast, you're investing in the people. And people need to be on ground for you to be able to make those investments, clients. So yes, if those infrastructures are worked on, the roads are worked on, and the network infrastructures are worked on, I think it would be great. But I cannot but say these things without saying a very clear observation I've made since I came into town. Since I've come into town, all I've been hearing is clear English, communication up to point. The humans here are very learned. I'm talking from the airport till I go here and interacting with staff. It's been very interesting. So yes, I'm not saying it's not happening in other regions. I'm saying that the humans that can actually help you in, creating or pushing your investments here are already on ground. So maybe some other things may actually supplement, some other things might complement. But I think that when it comes to the humans that are required to push your business, push your whatever you're trying to do in the Southeast, they're already on the ground. This communication is clear. The level of engagement is amazing, and that's what I've understood. It's friendlier over here. People are way more friendly. Somebody offered to let me sit in his residence while I was waiting for my transportation. I've not had that in any airport in Nigeria. Only this was my first experience, and I travel a lot. So yes, the people here are a lot friendlier.
Thank you for that. Well, thank you for that wonderful review here. We're good like that.
Yeah, I know. I had that look. I'm like, okay.
Great. All right. And we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight on the news. We hope to get an update on the summit as it goes by. And thank you for your thoughts also on the investigation of the cash crunch. Thank you so much, Priscilla.
Thank you, amazing. It's always amazing joining you on the station. Yes, good job, AfiaTV. You guys are the bomb.
Thank you. That's all we have right here for you on AfiaTV News, streaming live from Enugu, Nigeria. And on behalf of the entire production team, I am Amazing Grace Ajayi. Thank you so much for joining. Good night.